In this video, I'm going to be showing you how I ran an Ethernet cable from this homeowner's modem in the living room up the wall into the attic, all the way through the attic and into this far bedroom, down the wall and just behind this desk here. Pretty much just using these few tools that I have in front of me. Now before we do get into the full run of the Ethernet cable, I wanted to briefly go over the handful of tools and supplies that you'll need for this build, and I also want to say how easy this project really is. It's such low risk with really high reward. I'm sure, as most people know, a wired connection is always better than a wireless, especially for those of you who work from home or game or whatnot. It does have a pretty big payoff to be able to run an Ethernet cable to pretty much anywhere you want in your home. And I do feel like this is a project that most homeowners can do. Laid out here is pretty much all you'll need for this. You'll need an Ethernet cable long enough for your entire run. Don't just assume that you know, just be safe and measure. Speaking of measuring, you'll need a tape measure of some kind. You'll want a drill with a 1-inch spade bit. They are pretty cheap. In my area, they're about $6. You'll want some sort of drywall saw. This could probably be done with just a utility knife if you don't have anything else, but a drywall saw is much easier. A fish tape is highly recommended. It's probably essential if working with insulated walls like we will be. You'll need electrical tape to tape your Ethernet cable to the fish tape. You'll want wall plates of your choosing. We just used these black brush pass-through plates because we had them from a previous project. And a stud finder is also highly recommended. And then lastly, you'll want a level of some kind. If you see anything here that you need for this project and don't have, I will have links in the description to some of these tools and some other helpful supplies and materials as well. I am an Amazon affiliate, so I do earn a very small commission if you are to visit my link and buy something. It's at absolutely no extra cost to you and just kind of helps support me and the channel and kind of keep me employed. So it would be greatly appreciated if you do visit one of those links, and let me know in the comments if I'm missing anything or if there's any other kind of tool or supply that might be helpful for this. But with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into step one of running this Ethernet cable. So the first step we're going to take here is by figuring out exactly where on the wall we want to run our Ethernet cord through. The modem kind of lives in this area right here between it and this desk on my left. So this area on the wall is going to be perfect. Now what we want to do is find a stud bay, or the space between two studs. I didn't want to have to fight with the wires in the wall where this outlet is on my left, so I'm going to measure about 16 to 20 inches over from that or so to be in a separate stud bay. The easiest way to find a stud bay is by using a stud finder, obviously. You'll just mark your two studs and then just make a mark in the middle of those two marks you just made. I want to be at the same height on the wall as this other outlet over here. So I'm just going to get a rough measurement from the ground up to it and then copy that measurement in the area I plan to cut the hole. Once that's all marked, just take the inside of the pass-through plate, or this brush part of it, stick a level on the side of it so your hole isn't all crooked, and then just take a pencil and trace around it. Once it's all traced out, I like to use my level to kind of square out those lines. Then from here, just cut out the hole you just marked. After I get the hole cut, I like to place the pass-through plate back up on the wall just to make sure it fits flush against the wall and that I didn't cut it too big or too small. Then we're going to do the same exact thing here in the other room where the Ethernet cord will come out from. It's always a good idea, even when deciding where you want to cut the holes in your wall, to find what I am calling a landmark that you will be able to go off of in the attic to ensure that you're in the right stud bay when you're fishing your fish tape through the wall. As you can see in this bedroom, we're using this ceiling light as a landmark for when we're up in the attic. It obviously won't be perfect, but it's an easy way to make sure we're relatively in the right area when we get up there and are ready to drill our holes. We have the start of our tape measure lined up with the hole we cut under the desk on my left side here, and the middle of the ceiling light looks like it's sitting at about 16 to 20 inches on our tape measure. So when we go up into the attic, we can use this light's junction box as a rough landmark for where we need to drill our holes. All right, so we're up in the attic now, and we found that junction box to the light in the bedroom. You can't really see the box itself because of the insulation, but you can kind of see where I was feeling around for it. And right where that kind of mound of insulation is where our junction box is. So we're just gonna take our tape and we're gonna line up the end of it as best we can with the mound of insulation that marks the junction box, then measure back towards us about 16 to 20 inches and dig out the insulation above the top plate. So we've dug out a spot, and right on top of this top plate, or the horizontal 2x4, we're going to make a mark on it. It's very important that you mark and drill onto the 2x4 here and not the sheetrock that's kind of to the right side of this. If you drill through the sheetrock, your drill bit is going to come shooting out of the ceiling down below, and you're going to have to patch that. Now we're going to take the 1-inch spade bit, and I'm going to drill 2 holes here just for plenty of clearance for our fish tape and our Ethernet cable to pass through. We're going to do the same thing to our living room side as well, or the opposite side of where you're running your Ethernet cord. This one was a little bit easier since the light here was pretty much right above where we cut our hole, so we can just mark the top plate on this side based off of that, and then drill our 2 holes. Now that the holes are drilled in this top plate on both sides, you can just fish your fish tape down. Now you can head back down and feel around in the wall, but we got pretty lucky with this one and it was kind of just right there for us to pull out. Now that your wire is out of the wall, you can go ahead and use some electrical tape to secure the Ethernet cord to the fish tape so we can just pull that right back up through the attic. So we're back up in the attic now and we're pulling our fish tape back up and through until we get to the head of our Ethernet cable that's tied to the end of our fish tape. And we're going to pull up as much excess as we can, just leaving about a couple feet down where the hole is cut in the wall, just in case you need to move your modem at all or you might move it in the future. But just make sure that you don't pull it all the way up and through. It's kind of a good idea or a good tip is to just tie the end of the Ethernet cable downstairs to something like a table leg or a chair or just something big enough that won't fit through the hole that you cut so that you can't accidentally pull it up all the way and through. We're now just going to take this end that we pulled up and walk it all the way to the other side of the attic where our other holes are, and then we're going to do the same exact thing. The only difference is this time you will have to fish the wire down the wall with the Ethernet cable still attached to get this end of the cord out of the hole in the opposite room. Ours is a little unique because we had this blue cable here and then we had an Ethernet extension cable that we ran down into the bedroom because the blue one here wasn't quite long enough, and instead of going to buy one that was long enough, we just used what we had, so that's why one end of the cord is blue and the other is black. Now that you have both ends fished down the wall and they're both sticking out of the wall, you're at the last step, which is just installing the wall plate that you bought. And just like that, in a matter of maybe a couple hours, you have a wired internet connection from your modem to the opposite end of your house. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. If it was, please leave a like, a comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and visit those links in the description. It would mean a lot to me. And if I can do this, then you definitely can too.